Brixton, South London, home to the famed Electric Avenue and a cosmopolitan vibe. Like other parts of the British capital, it's succumbing to the inevitable pull of gentrification. But it's still the heart of one of Britain's oldest African and Caribbean communities. It was to Brixton that Prince Harry and his soon-to-be bride Meghan Markle came for their first official engagement in the capital as a couple, visiting a co-op aimed at keeping young entrepreneurs local and a youth radio station promoting diversity. Yes! And the black community took note.
Is it because of Meghan being of a mixed-race heritage? They could have gone anywhere else because London is a multicultural place, but Brixton has become the hub. And for some people, they refer to this as the capital, the black capital.
Everyone is listening.
As a biracial woman marrying into an institution seen by so many as a bastion of white privilege and a symbol of the abuses of colonialism, Meghan Markle has quickly been adopted as a beacon of potential change here, especially by young women of color. Freelance writer Georgina Lawton is a self-described Republican with little time for the monarchy. But the arrival of Markle on the scene has made her pay attention, seeing in it the promise of genuine change.
Harry marrying a light-skinned black woman won't undo the pain of the past in Britain. It won't undo all the negative aspects of our links to colonialism, but I think it will go some way in taking steps to repair race relations and promote multiculturalism.
Markle has written about growing up with an African-American mother and a Caucasian father, of the pain she felt being asked to choose an ethnicity, or seeing her mother endure racial insults. Lawton says the British media hasn't been much better.
The way in which the right-wing media in particular has discussed her heritage and taken upon the fact that she's from California, that she has links to Compton, that she has a dark-skinned mother with dreadlocks.
Prince Harry felt compelled to issue a statement condemning the racial undertones of some of the coverage.
I think it is a significant moment for people of colour, mixed-race people, black people, anyone who sees themselves in Meghan.
Artist Nikwe Desan goes by the name Dref. He's painted a series of murals featuring black women who've made a difference across London.
Because I didn't feel like black women from my community who were doing amazing things were celebrated enough. Yeah, it's very, really simple as that, really.
Raising their visibility, he says, provides an important alternative narrative to what's on offer. Not to be dismissed in a country where the last editor of British Vogue featured a black model on only a dozen out of 300 covers, claiming they wouldn't sell magazines.
I don't think you can be awake and be black in this country and not feel racism.
Dref grew up in Windsor, where, believe it or not, the castle was on his paper route. His attitude towards the When Harry Met Meghan story is mostly one of bemusement.
Social media, when it was announced, people were like, oh my God, got a bit of colour in the royal family, and I'm just looking and like, really? It's like one person getting married. I remember the night when Obama was president and everybody was like, that's it, it's the end of racism, Really?
Windrush Square, also in Brixton, but here seething with outrage. People protesting recent revelations over the treatment of tens of thousands of legal Caribbean residents by the Conservative government.
They knew what they were doing!
They're known as the Windrush generation, named for the first big ship carrying migrants invited from former British colonies to rebuild Britain after the Second World War. Nearly 500,000 came, their leave to remain and that of their children guaranteed as long as they'd arrived before 1973. But 4 years ago, with an eye on immigration numbers, the British Home Office started questioning their legality. People who'd lived and worked and paid taxes in this country for half a century suddenly found themselves denied health care, the right to work, a driving license.
People have died awaiting treatment. People have been thrown out of their houses.
Lennox Drummond's parents were part of the Windrush generation. He calls the government's decision to destroy thousands of arrival records, making it difficult for anyone who'd never applied for a passport to prove when they'd come, a betrayal.
The reason why Winston has been a popular name in our community is because many people name their children after Winston Churchill. You know, my mother has never called this country anything other than the mother country.
Britain's black history doesn't begin or end with the Windrush generation, far from it. But critics say most Britons simply don't know it, that it's absent from the country's collective memory.
There's no national push, and there hasn't been, to talk about either current black British history of people who defied the odds, or the odds that they were defying, i.e. British colonialism and racism.
Rennie Edo-Lodge is the best-selling author of a book looking at structural racism in Britain. She says black British history, slavery in particular, is often glossed over as a North American issue, even though British merchants forced an estimated 3 million Africans onto boats and into slavery in the British colonies. That legacy, says Edo-Lodge, doesn't disappear with a royal wedding.
In what absurd situation is it democratic or even representative to be chosen by a prince? It's simply not. I will rejoice when the British population elects a person of colour to be our Prime Minister.
People from black, Asian, or minority ethnic groups are twice as likely to be unemployed in the UK than white people. Black workers with degrees can expect to earn 23% less than whites, and black people are 8 times more likely than white to be stopped and searched by the police. A memorial last month for Stephen Lawrence, an 18-year-old black student set upon and stabbed to death by a gang of white racists 25 years ago. All of British society seemed to be represented, testament to the impact his murder had on this country. His family's long fight to see his killers brought to justice, culminating in a groundbreaking report highlighting institutional racism within the police force.
To me, that political and societal landing mark was far more monumental for Britain's relationship with race than Meghan Markle marrying Prince Harry, in my opinion. Because then it allowed people to do assessments of their own organisations using that criteria.
Critics say it should be a reminder for the current government.
We're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue.
Eddie Grant's song, Electric Avenue, penned in anger over racism and unemployment more than 30 years ago now, can feel both close and distant at the same time. But it doesn't mean there isn't room for meaningful change. That's what journalist Georgina Lawton believes Meghan Markle represents.
I think for many people growing up, and myself included, we can look to the royal family as this kind of like cornerstone of Britishness. But of course, we couldn't see ourselves, for the many millions of black people in the country, we couldn't see ourselves reflected in the royal family in any way.
The next generation will likely be key. People like Lennox Drummond's daughter, Bailey.
I don't think I couldn't be in the royal family, but, you know, I'm not sure I would.
Out of the mouths of babes. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Canada, of course, played a supporting role in this royal relationship. She was shooting Suits in Toronto when they started dating. So, of course, interest in all things Harry and Meghan spread quite quickly in Canada. Consider, for example, a BC woman's fashion blog called Markle's Mirror. We asked her to weigh in on how Canada might play a supporting role in the wedding wardrobe.
Meghan has often referred to Canada as her adopted homeland, and we could see that play out in a lot of different ways on Saturday, including some Canadian designers in the mix on her day. We could see designers like Erdem from Montreal with also with British connections design her dress. We could see some Burke's pieces show up in her look. When she wears Canadian designer, it is madness. There is all kinds of attention that goes to that brand. The brands will often see 300-400% increases of traffic to their websites. They'll see huge increases in sales, and it also has a ripple effect where it will have a huge impact on the Canadian industry as well. She's relatable from a style perspective in that she wears clothes that a lot of women can see themselves wearing, including myself, and she's also relatable from a person perspective where she has really strong beliefs in women's empowerment, in charitable endeavors, and I think that those combination of things make for a great role model, and that's why I'm so supportive of her.